This is Douglas Noble, and I'm here on behalf of the NABWMT Oral History Project, and today we're interviewing Ed Brown of Dallas, Texas, former NA co-chair from 1991 to 2002, and current NA director. Good afternoon.
And good afternoon to you, sir.
So, what was your first involvement with BWMT or the National? Either locally or nationally?
Well, my first involvement was locally in Dallas, at MACT Dallas, in 1990. When a friend of mine said, I'm a member of this group and you really need to come out and check us out. And he told me that for 5 or 6 months. And I finally went to a meeting. I met some of the guys, and I was particularly interested in the hospice supper club that they had, and I joined. And that's how I became involved in Dallas. I joined the group and I became an active member in serving on the supper club, which is part of the group serves dinner twice a month to HIV and AIDS patients in a hospice house. And that's how I became involved.
What other activities did you get involved in there early on?
In MACT, I also got involved in the preparing for the 1992 National Convention in Dallas, and that was quite an experience. That's where I met a lot of the current and former national members, and that proved to be a pretty enriching and learning experience for the organization too.
Well, what was your first involvement like? Remember? What did it feel like? What were your reactions?
My first reaction was, I guess I was indoctrinated, first of all, as I told you at the meeting, by attending the meeting and then getting involved in that particular aspect of the supper club. And later on I got involved in some of the social events, whereas I was introduced to Preston Pulliam. And Preston introduced me to the sexual side of NABWMT, or as it is in Dallas. Whereas I didn't know it at the time I joined, but Dallas was known as a sex club as opposed to a socio-educational and political entity. So that was my first indoctrination on the social aspect, is attending a party in which Preston pointed out different aspects of different people at the party. Of course, he knows everybody in Dallas, so it was easy, and I just stood there in amazement listening to him.
Well, other than amazement, what was your feeling about that?
Well, as I tell people today, before I joined the organization, I was very naive and very shy. But then after being introduced to Preston, I sort of came out of my shell. And being somewhat shy, that whole business of knowing all this stuff personally about people sexually was somewhat embarrassing. And I would be embarrassed if they knew that I knew those particular things about them. And I really don't know, at the time you were telling me this, I didn't know whether it's the truth or not. But as I grew to know Preston, I pretty much concluded that a lot of the stuff he was telling me was the truth, because Preston and I worked together on a lot of different projects, and no matter what you think of Preston's sexual proclivities, he is a guy who can get things done, and that's the one thing I admired most about him, is that he could get things done. And he's helped Dallas stay on the map as much as it has over the past 12, 13 years I've been associated with him.
Without going to the NA involvement yet, what other things have you been involved in Dallas? Have you held an office in the chapter there? And
okay, the first office I held was the office of Community Outreach Director, and that was the office that oversees the hospice supper club and the fundraising for the adoptive family, the Christmas funds, and that sort of thing. So that was the first office I held in the organization.
What is the adopted family?
Adoptive family is a project in which MACT Dallas adopts a family, and it provides food, clothing, and holiday meals for a particular family. And we have a family now that we've had for the last 6 years, I believe. And each school year we provide books, the college books, and financing for some of the school clothing. At Christmas and Thanksgiving, we provide a meal, the packaged meal that you buy at the deli, and provide that for the family. And at Christmas time, we also raise extra money to buy presents for the children.
And this program is still going on, right?
Yes.
As is the hospice? Is the
Yes.
hospice?
We feed, MACT Dallas feeds 3 nights a month at the hospice house in Dallas. And the family, the same goes on with them. Every school year, there's school donations made for the school clothes. Now that the children have graduated and gone to college, we provide money for the college books. And at Christmas time, we buy the food for them and presents.
So, while your reputation, or your chapter reputation may be one thing, the actuality is something a little bit different?
Well, as I stated, I was more impressed with the services that the organization was providing. And I think I learned later that it was a misconception, the whole sex club thing, that there were 35 members or so at the time I joined, the sexual involvement only involved 3 or 4 people. But unfortunately, those 3 or 4 people were the most visible and most dynamic and active of the chapter, so naturally the reputation, I guess, blown up by those couple guys. By and large, not everyone was having sex.
Did the chapter have regular meetings, regular activities? Or?
Yes. There were meetings. When I joined, there were meetings the first Tuesday of every month at the community center, and we met at the community center because there was a fee to rent the space in the community center, like $15, and we wanted to give back to the community, so we would meet there, pay the $15 in support of the community center by renting their space. We also participated in the Pride celebrations each September, and for 8, 9 years or so, my first 8 or 9 years, we had a float in our parade, and in 1993, I believe, we won first prize for best float. And several other years we won 2nd, 3rd place, but everyone was quite impressed the year we won first place for.
What was your float?
It had to do with the theme, but it's just been so long, I really don't remember what it was all about. But it impressed the...
Was it X-rated?
No, it was not X-rated. It was pretty much online with the theme of the parade. And I think part of the big deal was that even though there were I guess the big deal was no matter what the float configuration was, we always had guys, very well-developed guys on the float with their shirts off, and that's always pleasing to the crowd. So
That's not surprising.
So that may have been the big deal.
And were you one of those people?
No.
I see.
No, actually, one of the other things that we've always done at the float is to do a food stand where we sell what's affectionately called husband on a stick. Actually, it's just a skewing stick stuck in a weenie and roasted on a grill, and we would sell soft drinks and water as a fundraiser to support the adoptive family, to purchase the school books and clothes and that sort of thing.
And you were doing that?
Yes.
Now these Tuesday meetings, you said you had regular Tuesday meetings?
It's the first Tuesday of every Monday, first Tuesday of every month.
And what were they like? Were they business meetings? Were they rap groups, or?
No, we would have, the first Tuesday meetings were all business meetings. We would get together, conduct the business of the chapter, do the schedule, make assignments, work on different projects. There were, on occasion, there was a rap session, like on the fourth Tuesday of the month, where we would get together, view a film of some, usually with some film, and then we would just have a discussion after the film, and that was our rap session.
These business meetings now, were they open to everyone in the chapter, or was there just like a steering committee that planned things? Or?
No, the officers would meet at 6:30 for an hour. Then at 7:30, the general membership meeting would start. So that was the structure of it. Both the officers and the general membership would meet on the same night, but they'd meet differently.
Has the Dallas chapter been, and you've talked about these ongoing programs, the adoptive family and the hospice, has the Dallas chapter been pretty consistent in its activities and membership over the years, or have there been big ebbs and flows, and what is it like now?
Let's see if I can give you
That three-part question here.
a brief history to get this. When I joined back in 1990, I believe the membership was about 35, and it went up as we went into the 1992 convention, and after that, a number of the guys left. I don't know whether it was exhaustion, it went back down to the 30-35 range from its 50. As high as I remember it being was really 55 by known paid members. But after the convention, I guess the number of the guys were pretty exhausted, and we lost the membership. Or guys didn't renew that membership because we were out in the during the preparation for the convention. We were out in the neighborhood, pretty visible, and after some of those activities, I think there were people who were impressed with the organization's service to the community, and they joined, and a number of guys were involved in those different activities. But after the convention, the membership declined, and it stayed at 30-35 for a while. And in the last 3 or 4 years, our membership has aged, and we've gone through pretty much the same problem that a number of organizations have had, in that finding someone to take the leading roles of co-chair and treasurer and secretary, and because those positions have always been held by visible out people and guys who were pretty dynamic. And while Preston didn't hold an office until recently, he pretty much pushed everyone to do their job in the organization. So he was a driving force in the organization.
Who were some of the other leaders over the years that stand out in your mind? Or not in your mind?
I think one of the other co-chairs was Vincent. One thing is about being older now is that I can't remember names.
Vincent Henderson?
Yes, Vincent Henderson was a very dynamic guy, and he was one of our co-chairs because he was very visible in the community. He had a business in the local fashion mart, which exposed him to a lot of people. He also wrote a column for the local gay newspaper every week, and so he knew a lot of people, and being a Preston, so we got a lot of exposure that way. So he was one of the more dynamic guys I remember. I think one of the other guys in our organization who's highly visible is Gene Randolph. Gene's a photographer, so Gene has gotten a lot of our pictures on the website and published around the country. And he's also been instrumental in getting our website up and running. So those are guys who stand out in my mind right off the top of my head.
Well, now, before Dallas hosted the 1992 convention, you hadn't had any involvement with the NA, is that right?
No, that was my first exposure to the national, was building up to that convention.
And you attended the convention basically because it was in Dallas.
That's right.
It's the same way I got involved originally.
It was in my backyard. Well, I wasn't able to get off work to do the whole thing, but I was there all week, yes.
Did you participate in the planning, or you have a
yes.
role in the convention? What did you do?
I did whatever Preston because, as I told you, I was not outspoken or wild and crazy, but then that was pretty much my idea, to do whatever it took to make the convention a success. I didn't particularly care about any role, because when I came on board, when I got involved in the convention planning, they pretty much had the office. Preston was a co-chair, and they had the treasurer.
He was chair of the convention, or?
Yes. They just needed some workadees as they got closer and closer to the convention, and I was just one of those workadees, and I did whatever was necessary, and whatever I was asked to do.
So what was that first convention like, and how was it different, if at all, from your chapter experiences?
Well, probably the big deal was seeing all the things that have to be done for a convention. Whereas I've been involved in conventions and conferences before, but on a professional level, that's always been done by someone else. I just would show up. But when you're actually involved in seeing that something actually comes off, it makes a big difference. And I knew the important thing was that from being in the chapter, that the convention had to be a success, or else there were going to be a lot of upset people. And I didn't want my city and chapter to get that reputation, so we did whatever it took to make it a success. And I think everyone had a good time there.
Well, apart from the dynamics of putting it on and your role in that, what about the convention itself, the idea of the convention is bringing together people nationally, the social, political dynamics, and how did that affect you, or did you even have time to enjoy it?
I enjoyed meeting a lot of the people and interacting with them. And since I just went along with the program, I got the impression that this was the 11th or 12th convention, and that they'd always done it that way, and everyone was having a good time. So I did not, at the end of the convention, I did not go back and say, this should have been done this way or that way. The kind of things that I would do now, I did not do then. I did not critique the convention at the end, because I got the feeling that everyone came and had a good time for the most part, and that was my satisfaction.
Well, when you say you wouldn't critique it like, or you didn't critique it like you would now, when you critique it now, do you critique it like for organizations, for social events, political consciousness-raising events? What's your critique
I think now,
consist of usually?
well, I look at different aspects of things that happened and see what we could have done differently. And so one particular incident that made me decide to run for national co-chair was in Philadelphia, when we had a registration room, and the guys had to close the registration room and move all that stuff out every night and then put it back every day. To me, I thought that was kind of dumb. And And that was one of the things I wanted to change. I also now look at the different programs or workshops that are offered and how many people attend, and whether we're offering the right types of workshops and that attract people, that make them want to go. And I look at the entire convention from the standpoint of how does the convention stack up to the other events that it's competing against? Because a number of people take 3 or 4 days off or an entire week off from work, and this is their vacation. And I think they want to be entertained or happy while they're at the convention. And I think they want to go away feeling that they've had a good time and with few or no regrets.
What type of workshops do you think generally should be given at conventions? What would you, if you were planning them, how would you ideally have workshops?
I would see what had worked in the past and build on that. And I would probably look at the current social and economical and political environment and make workshops that I think will attract the majority of the attendees. And some places I would ask them, what is it that they wanted to see? And the more important thing is it wouldn't be my own personal preference, it would be what the majority would want. What they would want, or what I would want, no one else may be interested in. And I think that is the important thing that you have to remember when you're in an organization. It's a group thing, it's not a personal thing, it's a group effort.
Well, have you pretty much been involved steadily with the National since that first convention?
Yes, I've attended most of the meetings. Even before I was on the board, I attended board meetings, especially when they were in D.C.
Have you been to every convention since then?
Yes.
Do you have any particular memories of particular conventions? We could go year by year if you'd like, or if something stands out.
Well, the following year, in 1993, we had it in Chicago, and it was so relaxing just to go to Chicago, go to the convention, hang out in the hotel with everyone, and I liked Chicago. The other convention I enjoyed very much was going to Key West. I think that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed Philadelphia. I don't think it's. I have any particular bad memories about any of the conventions.
Do any particular events stand out for you? And maybe I should say before you became an active board member. I'm sure some stand out to say.
Before I became a board member, no, I think I learned to look forward to the No Talent show. I think I look forward to that. Then I think I look forward to the different awards and the speakers at the banquets. On the workshops, I would look on the schedule and see what workshops were offered, and I'd pick and choose. And as I became an officer, there were some that I kind of mandatory I would go to. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that from the very beginning in Dallas through now, that I would go to all these workshops. I would pick and choose different things that interest me, and things that did not interest me, I would go off and do something else.
Do you want to elaborate on what type of things would interest you, or is that, or am I delving?
No. I mean the different workshops that had to do with ones that I think of often in the last several years have been to do with estate planning, because I've seen a number of people die without wills, and what a traumatic experience that is for their families and friends. So I think that's always an important thing to offer to the membership. In Charlotte, I think we've had a touchy-feely workshop. That was kind of interesting, where everyone learned to massage their partner. That was kind of fun. I also like some of the political or motivational things, because I think when you leave this environment, you should be energized to go home to do something. And I really don't. I'm not the type who think that you should go out and set the world on fire. I think you should go and do a little something. And if 110, 150 people left Kansas City and went home and did a little something, I think their whole communities would be a lot better.
Well, now you've attended, I guess this would be, if you've attended all, and this would be your 12th convention. How, if at all, have you seen conventions change over those 12 years? Are they different now than they used to be? Is there a different atmosphere, a different dynamic? Or are they the same?
I think now there's much more flexibility in the convention. I think before, in the first 5-6 years or so, they were pretty much canned. The same things happened at the same time, Monday through Friday. And now I think through listening to the membership, some insight from the board, and just different reaction from conventions, that it has changed. And I think it's much more tuned to what the membership or the attendees want.
And what do you sense that is generally? I mean, you've looked at it from both sides.
It's a good thing.
From the attendee and from the board side. And what do you sense that the members maybe want something different than they used to, or?
You know, I am convinced that you're not going to make everyone happy, but I would like to see the majority of the people attending happy. So I would think we are bright enough to find a happy medium. I don't want to see the convention become one social event. I wouldn't want to see it become one political thing or all educational. But I like to find a happy medium where everyone gets what they want. And that comes from the picking and choosing from the different workshops. You can, if you're a social guy, go to the social events. But the important thing is when you leave at the end of the week, that you're happy and you're not complaining. That's the most important part to me. And I think those who are on the CPC and the board should be sensitive to that. Not particularly what the board wants, not what the CPC wants. I think they should gear the events and workshops to make the attendees happy, while sticking to the statement of purpose and not putting the organization in a bad way. That would only be my criteria. They'll never do anything